Three. Hi,
Hi,
we are Emma.
and Shinjini. Oh. And welcome to Star Stories and Life, where we talk about.
Stars, stories, and life. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about a couple of YouTubers which are kind of popular to drama channels and drama blogs and all that. But first, we have to do our weekly astrology report. So, Shinjini, what are the stars saying this week?
A lot, and cannot say a lot enough. So much.
Again?
Again, yes. So
Okay.
what I'm gonna do is go one by one, like what's happening, this week. So I'll be giving you sneak peek into what's starting, because a lot of things are starting this week, from the 10th of May to the 16th of May. So let's see what's happening. On the 11th of May, on the 10th of May, Mercury in Taurus trines Jupiter and Pluto in Capricorn. So trine is an astrological aspect which is considered very auspicious, very harmonious. It's a pathway for blessings. So it's definitely a good thing. There will be, it's definitely a good thing. So Mother's Day, it's Mother's Day in Mexico, or is it internationally Mother's Day? I don't know.
I think
But
it's
it's
in
Mother's Day in
Mexico.
Mexico. So yes, it's Mother's Day in Mexico, and it's definitely looking good. The week is definitely starting off well. But Saturn goes retrograde in Aquarius, which is not so harmonious. People usually fear Saturn because how it challenges you. We'll talk about that in a bit. Then on the 11th, Mercury enters Gemini, which is a good thing. It's definitely not a bad thing. Mercury fares very well in Gemini. It likes to be there. So it's definitely a good thing. On the 13th, Venus goes retrograde in Gemini. I know the word retrograde is kind of like setting alarms
It's a bad
everywhere.
word.
It's a bad word in astrology. A lot of astrologers say that, but I think of it differently. But we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Then on the 14th, Jupiter goes retrograde for 4 months. And
Four
on the
months?
15th, yes. And on the 15th, Sun in Taurus, trine Pluto in Capricorn. Also, as I was saying, trine is a harmonious aspect, so nothing to worry about. So we are starting off well. We are ending also on, I would say, a good note. So let's see these things in a little bit of detail. So a lot of things, as you can see, are going retrograde this month. We know that Pluto has already been in retrograde for a while, and I told you a couple of weeks ago that Pluto will be Pluto is, rebirth, transformation, control, personal power. So all of those things need to be checked, need to be reviewed, and we've already gone in details with that. So I'm not going to go into details again. But then, in addition to that, a lot of other planets are also going retrograde this month: Saturn, Venus, and Jupiter. So I'm going to talk about the important ones. All of them are important, but I'll try to keep it as short as possible. So Saturn is hard work. Saturn represents your vulnerability and insecurity. And the fact that Saturn is going retrograde in Aquarius, I think it's asking us to see the cold hard truth, to ask us what is limiting us, how are we limiting ourselves in a way. So instead of jumping into new ideas, usually in Aquarius really represents our innovative side, our rebellious side. Um, so I would say that Saturn is asking us to check ourselves a little bit on those regards, to really see the strengths of the projects that we are currently involved in, instead of, you know, jumping into new ones and abandoning the ones that we already have. So really focus on the projects that we have right now, the issues that we are going through right now, like really sit with them and see what they mean to us. And are we taking responsibility for those projects and actions? We also, I think, need to check whether we are being rebellious just for the sake of it, or do we really believe in what we are rebelling about? So these are some of the areas we really need to kind of pause and check what we are doing. Like, is it what we really want to do? You know, things like that. So any retrograde is a time of reflection, self-reflection on your actions, on your projects, on your plans. It's not a good time to start anything. And whichever planet is retrograding, it means that those aspects of your life you need to pause, check, review, and yes, definitely not start anything or commit to anything. Then Venus is going retrograde in Gemini for 40 days. So as you know, Venus represents love, what we value. So it can also talk about money, possessions, because usually those are the things we value. So I would say this might be a little disturbing for our, water signs, because a lot of emotions might come to surface, especially regarding love, money, things that we haven't, talked about, things we haven't really paid attention to when it comes to value and love. Those things are going to come to surface, and that's something that we need to take care of. Practically speaking, I would say this is not a great time to commit to any relationship. Also not a time to jump into anything, especially a relationship. So really, if you're dating somebody, or you're trying to date somebody, I would say this would be a great time to really assess what you're looking for in this relationship, because things might not be as they seem. Things might be a little cloudy right now when it comes to love. So I highly recommend that you do not take any major decisions right now regarding relationships. Just kind of like sit back and see, and just enjoy the moment, I would say. Whether you are trying to date somebody or you are flirting with someone, I would just say enjoy the moment. Nothing to get too serious about, because once the retrograde is over, when Venus goes direct, things will be clearer, and then you would be able to make a better decision, like whether you really like this person or not, because things are, as I said, are a little cloudy. I would say the same thing with money. Do not go overboard with expenditure. You might feel like you want to buy a lot of things, or do like a major makeover, like buy a lot of clothes, stuff like that. I don't know, to enhance your beauty maybe, or to increase your possessions. Yeah, don't do that, because it might lead to some kind of regret. Because as I was saying, things are not as they seem right now to you. What?
But I want them to be.
Yes, we all want them. But, as I was saying, retrograde is really a time to reflect, not to jump into anything, not to start anything new. So just, think of this as, I think Nadia Shah put it, as the great pause. It's like pause on everything, pause on everything that you're doing or you're trying to do, and just like really reflect on your strengths and weaknesses, what you can learn about yourself through these retrogrades. Then, I almost forgot to mention this. Mars is entering Pisces on the 13th of May, which is unfortunately not a great energy because Mars is all about action. It doesn't like to be in Pisces. Pisces is all about being dreamy and emotional, and Mars is nothing of that sort. Mars is masculine. It's all about taking action, very fiery. So expect inner conflict, or even conflict with others. um,
Mm,
I mean, it, of course, the dynamic will be different depending on where Mars is in your natal chart and how it is aspecting um, with Mars in transit right now. So a lot of things, of course, you know, uh, will change depending on that. But of course, to like expect some kind of conflict when it comes to your mind, action, like what you should do, but you feel something else, like, those kinds of conflicts. It can be an inner conflict. It can be also a conflict outside that might show in different ways. And then on the 14th, Jupiter is going retrograde for 4 months. So Jupiter represents luck, prosperity, traveling, legal matters. But because it's going retrograde, it's a little different. So what does that mean for us? So Jupiter also represents philosophy, what our philosophy in life is, what is our faith, what is our belief. Those things are going to be challenged. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because faith is not supposed to be blind. It's not supposed to be fanatic. Good faith, healthy faith is about questioning it. It's about finding the truth. So don't feel threatened or anxious that your philosophy is getting challenged a little bit, or your faith and beliefs are getting challenged a little bit. It's absolutely fine. Explore that feeling, lean into that feeling, and see what the truth is. Because, like how Saturn is going retrograde, Saturn is also, as I was saying, seeing the cold, hard truth of things. So I don't think it's a coincidence that Saturn, Jupiter, both are going retrograde, almost at the same time, very close to each other. Definitely asking us to look into our faith and belief, and make necessary changes. Like changing your belief or altering it is not a bad thing. Like, with new information, we need to evolve as a person, as a collective. So it's not a bad thing. There's nothing to be anxious about. There's nothing to feel threatened by it. It's just acceptance, understanding, leaning into that feeling. And so these are the retrogrades that are happening. Hope that was clear.
yeah.
So we start, as I was saying, that we are starting with a good energy. So and we are also ending on some kind of a good energy too. So I mean, sort of. So the good energy is that communication will be very free flowing. You'll be able to, express yourself well. Mercury is in Gemini, I think from 11th, and it's going to be there for 3 weeks. So great time to put forward your ideas to people if you wanted to do that for a long time and it has not been working. Negotiations also are going to work out. So it's a good energy. Where communication wise, definitely it's a good energy. Lessons wise, a lot of hard lessons. So, be prepared for that. Be open to, the truths that you did not know were there. They're going to be revealing themselves to you. Accept them, lean into that feeling. And do not, be careful about your spending. Don't jump into any relationship. Don't make any big decisions. And there might be some hidden issues that might come around at the end of the week, but that's a good thing, because that will lead you to your ultimate transformation that you were meant to do in this life. So that's the whole energy of this week and for this month, actually, because all these retrogrades are going to be here for a while.
Okay.
So what do the cards have to say about this, Emma?
Well, let's find out. So, I'm going to be using the Animal Spirit Animal Spirit Oracle cards because, I don't know, they seem gentler in a way, and I feel like that's what we need. So, we're going to start with love. So, our love card is Be Here Now, the hummingbird spirit.
Be here now.
Mm-hmm. So basically, like what you were saying, things are going to be happening. You need to be present, especially if you're in like a romantic relationship right now. It's necessary for you to be paying attention. What is your partner showing you but not telling you? You know, what's going on? What's going on in your familial relationships as well? Because right now we're all still in quarantine. Mexico just announced that we're in level 3, which is fun. And, you know, we have to be present in our relationships right now. We have to be paying attention. You know, people need us and we can't be there, so we have to be there in other ways. Very likely. So that's the idea. We have to just exist in these relationships. We're going to go for finances. For some reason, when I grabbed this card, the first thing I thought was food. So that might mean something. So we have the mouse spirit, which says, tend to the small things. So when it comes to things like finances, this means spend little and take care of, you know, what little bit you have, especially if you're one of those people that has lost their jobs in this difficult time. You need to take care of what you have. Maybe right now you shouldn't be making like $100 grocery runs, you know, just buy the little bit that you need, because we have to make everything last for everybody. It's not just about us. Remember, this is the whole collective crisis we're going through right now.
Absolutely.
So, you know, really prioritize what's important over the coming week and probably a lot longer. At least this is a better situation than last time we pulled cards, because I think last time it was basically there is very little, and now it's like there's enough, right? There's enough as long as you're being responsible. And now the final card, which is health, we have the spider spirit, which is make your dreams real. So this means basically it's up to us, as always, as it always has been throughout this entire pandemic. It's up to us to make everything good health-wise for all of us. Because if you're not being responsible, the spider's gonna get you, basically. There's no other way to say it. You have to be very careful still, because it hasn't started going down. And I think today or tomorrow was supposed to be the highest point of people being diagnosed, at least in Mexico. It was the estimate. So we got to see what happens with that tomorrow. I'm going to pull a card specifically for the pandemic. We have the dove spirit. Be peace. Stop panicking. Stop panicking. And, you know, right now, external things are not as important. You know, that subscription box that hasn't arrived, that's got to be the least of your worries right now. The vegetables that are going bad in your fridge, tend to those perhaps. Right. Your family, tend to them. We need to prioritize and remember that it's bad, but it's not that bad, you know? if you get sick,
So are you
bad.
saying like to be like really present in our moment and be
Yes,
grateful for the things that we have?
exactly. We have to be peace. Be peace right now. It's up to each of us to bring peace, not just to us, but to the people around us.
I think considering what's happening this week, astrologically speaking, in this month even, like we have so many
Yeah.
retrogrades. So many retrogrades being there, like Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, Venus. I think they're kind of like screaming at us to self-reflect. And I think
Yeah.
this is a perfect time to delve into meditation.
Yeah, I would
Even if it's
believe
for
that.
like a couple of minutes a day. Like I know there are a lot of people who are restless. They would rather spend hours on social media. That's me, actually.
I know,
I'm calling
right?
myself out. Um,
That's me. I'm bitches.
yeah, exactly. Um, it's hard. I know. I'm saying that from a place of experience, but I think a couple of minutes, starting with a couple of minutes, even with using things like guided meditation or like soothing music, because
Yeah.
I think it's very different for all of us, right? Like some of us like the pitter patter of rain, some of us like the sound of the waves, of ocean waves. So it really depends what you like, and I think using that to calm down would be great
Mhm.
during this
Yeah.
time, because the universe, I think, is really, really asking us to pause, calm down, look into ourselves, um,
Yeah.
like see where we are as a person,
Mhm.
and make necessary changes, and then move forward when the right time arrives, so that we can show up for ourselves, we can show up for our family and friends when the time calls us to do that. So it's hard, like we, as I think, as a culture, as society, we haven't been taught to pause.
Yeah.
It's a fast life, especially people who live in the city.
Yeah.
It's a fast life, do it right now. The culture of instant everything, right?
Yeah.
Instant gratification. So I think that's where we are really getting challenged right now. There is no
Yeah.
instant gratification.
No, there is.
How can we live with ourselves?
Mhm.
And if we can, why can't we? So these are the
Exactly.
questions I feel like we need to ask, as rightly even pointed out by the cards. Peace.
Peace.
Peace is what the cards are saying, and astrology and the stars are saying the same thing.
Exactly. Peace. That's what we have to be trying to create, both outside of ourselves and inside of ourselves.
Absolutely.
Peace. So, with that, let's look at what we were going to look at. So, basically, the idea of today's episode was going to be reading charts of problematic.
I would
YouTube.
say the popular YouTubers of drama channels, or the favorites of drama channels.
The ones that come up quite often. I
Yes,
mean,
favorites of drama
yeah,
channels.
favorites of drama channels. So, who are we going to start with?
I want to start with Trisha Paytas. Is
All
that
right.
how she pronounces the name?
Paytas, I think.
Paytas. Okay, Trisha Paytas. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the
Yeah, we're
name.
probably
I'm
both
trying.
butchering your name.
Trisha Paytas or Trisha Paytas, however you pronounce it, you have a beautiful name.
All right, so we're going to
Who
start with
is
Trish.
Trisha Paytas,
Trisha
Emma?
Paytas.
Tell us.
So Trish, she is a she calls herself a troll channel because she likes to very controversial things. But she also does mukbangs a lot. Like a lot. Like that's her bread and butter, the mukbangs. The basic story of Trisha is like her history is that she came from a not so good family, and to get by in her, early 20s, maybe late teens, uh yeah, early 20s, she was a stripper and then an escort for a little while.
Wow.
So that's how she made money at the beginning, and then she started doing YouTube videos, just to talk and do things. And I was first introduced to her with some of her oldish YouTube videos where she would, She did, back in the day, it was crazy skits, it was a lot of vlogs and story times and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
She's released a couple of books that you can find. I'm sure you can like download them if you don't want to support her, but you can buy them all on Amazon. And they're like just basically the first couple of books are just about her life being a stripper and an escort. And then she's got a couple that are like a little bit more about the beginning of her YouTube life. And she has yo-yoed a lot when it comes to her body experience, I'm going to call it, because she has loved her body and she has hated her body, and then she's loved it and then she's hated it, and it's just been an endless circle with her. She's been very aware of her body, which makes a lot of sense. You're in the public eye, everybody's going to be telling you all of the things, so it gets to you. And I know she's doing a lot better when it comes to her body right now, which makes it very interesting, because she's been as of late, the controversies have been that she's been endorsing what's it called? It's like a gelatin drink to help you lose weight. I don't remember what it's called. I don't remember. It's purple. She's been endorsing that a lot on Instagram, saying that it's what helped her lose weight. But everybody says no. It's you got a liposuction. You've gotten plastic surgery. You have a really expensive trainer. Like, it's not just the drink, whatever it's called, that you've been promoting. So that's where a lot like of the recent drama has started to happen. Start there. Then she started dating this guy, name unmentioned, because why? So she started dating this older guy, and that relationship was very public. It was on Instagram, it was on YouTube, it was everywhere, and a lot of people didn't see it as a healthy relationship, because at the very least, while on camera, he's a very crass person.
What does he do? Like, is he a model, also a YouTuber?
He's also a YouTuber. He's mostly a family vlogger. He has 2 young kids, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah. He's like late 30s, early 40s, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that relationship, it lasted a couple months, like really long months. And they had talked about getting married, and they bought a dog together, stuff like that. And they ended up breaking up, and it was a big thing. It was just, she was trashing him and he was trashing her. She said that he was calling her fat, and that kind of stuff. It was just a lot. And that was like for a whole month. There was just that on her channel. And then she was like, okay, I'm gonna live the single life. So she starts posting more on her Patreon more, because on her Patreon she posts a lot of risque photographs. Not like her Instagram is any cleaner, but that's where she posts the nudes. And then Patreon changed their rules, and she moved to OnlyFans, where you can post the nudes. So she has a lot there. She lets people access through Patreon her OnlyFans stuff. So she also has a podcast that is also like Patreon exclusive. You can't even hear it in public. It's not public. You have to pay for it, which I'm very interested in, because she talks a lot about like nasty shit, and I'm all about that. Like,
yes, you are.
Like, she's very raunchy, and I do love that about her. But the things I can't take is she used to be, or she says she was, an advocate for mental health. Like, she always talked about, mental health is very important. You can't judge someone because of their mental health, blah, that kind of stuff. But then she will always like contradict herself with something that she does. Like the recent drama when it came with about dissociative identity disorder. And like if anybody wants to just read about that, just look up Trisha DID and you'll just get all of the videos.
Yeah,
Like
there are a lot of videos on that. A lot of
summarizing
trauma
that
channels
is just
have
gonna
covered
take too
that.
long.
Yeah.
And like this was a saga of of videos from Trisha. I watched 2 of them and not all the way through because I can't.
I think she also like got into some argument with Anthony Padilla, right?
Yeah, because he did the
from this month.
video and then she did her video and then he made like a response on Instagram and then she made a response to him and then he responded to her back. It was, and then the girl that was on the episode with Anthony responded to Trisha. It was a mess. It was a mess. It was just a lot of ping ponging back and forth with Trisha, you know, adamant that she has the mental disorder, and everybody's like, no. Even psychiatrists were watching her video and analyzing it. It got really interesting if you go like towards that side of the internet that I didn't know existed, that side of YouTube, the psychiatrist analyzes blah. That was interesting. I discovered a new thing. So, like, that was the recent controversy. And, like, the way that a lot of people are seeing a pattern, she'll do a video that's really controversial, gets her a lot of attention, and then she'll do, like, a month's worth of just mukbangs. So you won't see, she won't even acknowledge it on her Instagram. She won't acknowledge it on Twitter, nothing, until she makes an update video herself. And then she'll like make long Twitter posts and stuff like that. And it's like, that's what Trisha, at least her online persona, has become. And so I wonder, will her chart tell us why?
I'm not at all surprised by any of the thing that she said. I saw that very clearly in her chart. So I'm going to do this a little bit differently. Usually astrology videos are a lot about their sun sign, their moon sign, their rising sign, which are very important. Absolutely. And you can actually check them out online if you just type Trisha Paytas' birth chart, all her, whatever her signs are, her houses are, everything comes right into the forefront. What I am going to talk about are her planets in her natal chart and how they are talking to each other. Because planets speak a lot. They are like, you know, parts of our souls. And they speak differently depending on which house they are in, depending on which sign they are in, and who else is in that sign with them, who else is in that house with them, how they're you know, talking to each other. So a lot of those things make a birth chart, and it's a very complicated reading. And of course, I'm not trying to, you know, read a birth chart for them, but reading their birth chart's purpose was to kind of understand where they're coming from, why they might do certain things that they do, and what is their chance at healing. How can they heal themselves from the pain that they're experiencing? Because I feel like people who get caught up in these kinds of things, whether that's body image issues or you know, fights with colleagues, or you know, not being able to love yourself, or this is
or
all of
accept
these
yourself,
things,
perhaps.
accept yourself. Yes, so all of these are manifestations of those insecurities. So I'm going to talk about those things a little bit, like what I see in her chart, and then go into what I think can really help her heal and transform herself to a person who is in peace with herself or himself. Like, this is for all the YouTubers that we'll be talking about today. So yes, I'll be mostly focusing on the planetary positions in her natal chart and how they converse with each other. So there's a lot happening. There's you know, there's a lot of squares. Squares and oppositions are usually not so harmonious these conversations are not that harmonious, like trines or conjunctions. These are different kinds of aspects. These are different kinds of planetary conversations. So there are squares between Sun and the Moon, between the Sun and Pluto, between the Moon and Jupiter. So there are many squares and oppositions, and from there I can see her struggle.
Yeah.
So her struggle is very internal. It's, what does she want? What does she need? And how should she go about that? She's not very sure about it. And there's this anxiety that plagues her, and which might, lead her to self-destructive behavior. But she's not doing it from a place of malice. That's my belief. She's not doing it because she wants to hurt other people. It's because of this perpetual, all pervasive internal struggle that she has between her needs and her wants. And how they manifest is that she's constantly worrying about how she looks. She's very sensitive to criticism. She's very internally dissatisfied with herself. And that might lead to, being very hot-headed or temperamental or controversial. She has this inner restlessness that she can't seem to find peace in. She can't calm that part of herself down. So if you see her indulging herself into things like eating a lot, or I don't know, buying a lot of things, or maybe changing her body a lot, all of those are manifestations of this inner restlessness that she has. And and entertaining others is her way of kind of trying to calm herself down in a way. Other manifestations I can see, like I can see that there is a square between the Moon and Pluto, which means that she's very, very intense. But her intensity can get like really obsessive, which can create some tension in her love life. Like she can be overwhelmed with these emotions that she doesn't know what to do with them. There can be jealousy, possessiveness. She can have too many expectations from her partner. And she does all of that because she's so scared that everything is going to be taken away from her. So overall, I think that she's very charming, very attractive. She will always have a lot of admirers. There will always be people who will really like her because she's funny, she's entertaining, she's beautiful, and that's always going to be something that's going to be her charm, her her personality. However, these things of restlessness and of this inner struggle that she has is bringing her down, like she doesn't know what to do with them. But if she takes a bit of time, to not overthink and overanalyze, if she learns to let go of being perfect, if she learns to take her mental health seriously, take her emotional healing seriously, and finds a way to have more compassion for herself, she will eventually find the peace that she's looking for. The peace that she's looking for is inside her. She won't get it from anyone else. Definitely not from her partner. Definitely not from her admirers. It's something that is within, and she has the potential to do that. Why I'm saying that is because we have this concept of north node in astrology. So a north node is kind of like your soul's purpose, for a lack of a better word, like what you were meant to do with yourself. Like it's your light. How do you find inner peace? So her north node is in Pisces. That's why, and Pisces is this energy of compassion, love, tolerance, being dreamy, being emotional. And those are all good things, definitely. So I believe that if she leans into her emotions instead of running away from them, which is very characteristic of her because her moon is in Aquarius. People who have their moon in Aquarius are very dismissive of their feelings. So instead of doing that, if she sits with her emotions, if she leans into her emotional life, her emotional healing, she will definitely find the inner peace that she's looking for. And it's not only going to help her be happier with herself, but she'll also eventually be happier with others, with her world, with her life. And that will also bring her a lot of good luck, because her north node is in the 7th house. It's going to bring a lot of good luck when it comes to partnerships, but she has to take that she has to make that choice. She has to take the decision of letting go of her perfectionism, stopping overthinking, overanalyzing, beating herself over small things, and really dedicate her life to emotional healing. It will bring a lot of good luck for her in every sense of the word.
Okay. All right. So now it's time to see what a couple of cards are going to say about this. I've decided that I'm going to be using the Mystic Mondays tarot for this because I feel like tarot cards are going to give us a little bit more of a punch in the gut type of response, which is what they do. So let's give them a spread. And I'm going to grab 3. So basically these cards are just going to tell us a story of how can she help herself, So first, let me see. I need to look at my notes because this is weird. Let me start with, we have the Star to start with. I think that's the first card that I pulled out, and I'm going to show it to you so you can enjoy how pretty it is.
It is very pretty.
So the Star, I know, I really like this deck because it's very abstract, yet, it makes a lot of sense. So you can know what this is. The Star is one of the, what do they call the major arcana. And the Star basically is a card of thinking of the self. Kind of. The Star is, it can be used as like popularity, but when we're talking about helping you, you have to make yourself your biggest fan, right? You have to think, me, what am I needing? What am I wanting? What am I missing? It's a very selfish card, but for good reasons, basically, at least in this scenario. She's very much, she needs to focus on herself more than anything. She needs to heal. She needs to work on all of this because there's a lot. And the other cards support that there is a lot. We have in this deck, it's called the Princess, but it's the Page of Pentacles. Pentacles are very much, richness. Can be financial, but not in this case. The Page is work on it. So we have me, work on me. So work on this. Work on this. And we have the Wands, which we've talked about a lot. Their emotions, and these are upside down. And like the Wands, the Four of Wands is when it comes to like working on the self, it can be like a breakdown. It's what you're avoiding inside of yourself. So these three cards are saying you have to work on what is scaring you right now.
That is very, very her. Very much.
These dark emotions that you feel are either like bad or they don't help. Working on those specifically are what's going to bring peace. Getting
yes.
to the heart of those. I mean, I know she's been in therapy, but I think there's something she's been avoiding, and it's probably not a conscious thing, because we all have
it's not.
That thing, whatever it is, that we just avoid at all costs. And that's that. And I really think that it's very likely it's that her self-worth, herself, that she's avoiding. Like she works on, what do I have to do for my relationships, for my blah blah, but there's no working on me. Like when you work on your body but you're doing it for other people, that doesn't make you feel good.
It's because she's very hard on herself. She's very, very hard on herself.
Hard on herself. She probably just needs to, like, this is the motion that conveys the word I'm trying to find. Whatever that word is, it's this.
I wanted to mention one more thing. She when I was seeing her planets, it's just not these conflicting emotions and conversations of tension. There's a lot of good things. There are a lot of good things, a lot of good conversations that are happening, a lot of trines, a lot of conjunctions. These are all very harmonious conversations. And through these conversations, I felt like she has this potential to be very altruistic. The very fact that her, Sun is in Taurus, Venus is the planet of Taurus. It rules Taurus, and and this is a planet that talks about love, that talks about beauty, and I feel like she can really use that to love herself, and she can, once she's done that healing, once she is in her North Node, as I was saying, which is in Pisces, compassion for herself, I see that she's channeling that self-compassion onto others. But it won't happen the other way around. It won't happen like, oh, I do things for others and then they do things for me and then I'm happy. No, that's not her path. It might work for other people, I'm not sure. But for her, I see her path as being from here, right? Loving herself, being compassionate with herself, and then that will like kind of like really multiply in her environment, and that will give her a lot of good luck when she does that. And yes, so a lot of altruism, I do see that in her planets. So I know, like whenever you check out the drama channels and Trisha Paytas, I don't think anybody is saying anything positive about her.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody has their opinion, and they're trying to hold people accountable, I guess. But I want to, and I think both we were talking about this before. We both want to look at it in a different way. Like people are
Yeah.
coming from hurt, from pain, and but they also have a chance to healing. They also have a
Yeah.
chance to happiness and peace, as we were
Absolutely.
talking about today. And I think Trisha absolutely has a chance at that.
Yeah.
100%.
She's not
She's
too far.
not doomed. Yes, she's not doomed to this inner restlessness and struggle that she has always felt all her life, as from what I can see. But she definitely has this like huge potential, and I think she just needs to give herself that compassion that she probably gives her partners, or her friends.
Yeah. She needs to give herself permission to be a little bit selfish.
Absolutely.
Like, she can't be doing things for fame, for her fans, for her relationships, for her family, right? She has to think, what do I want for me? What do I need right now?
Yes. And another reason is that she lashes out at people when they criticize her is because of this restlessness that she has. She's already criticizing herself way more than people are criticizing her.
Yeah.
So when people are criticizing her even more online, that really it really triggers her.
Mm-hmm.
That side of hers that is like overanalyzing and overthinking. And yeah, criticizing her is not going to help her change.
No, it's
If
not.
people are criticizing her because thinking like, oh, she needs to be held accountable, oh, she needs to know what she has done wrong, she knows.
Yeah, she knows.
She knows.
100%. She knows exactly
And
what she's done.
yeah,
And with everybody criticizing her, it just causes her to continue to put her foot in her mouth. And that's not good.
exactly.
That helps no one.
Exactly. Yes. Um, but at the end of the day, it's her choice,
Yes.
what she decides to do with her emotions, whether she decides to follow this path or not is absolutely her choice. And she has to live those life choices. Nobody
Exactly.
else, not us, not the people who are criticizing her. It's her. So, I
Yeah.
mean, the only thing we can do is talk about her. Uh, some people are trying to help her, some people are trying to criticize her, but it's ultimately up to her what she wants to do about it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So let's move on. Do we want to move on to a male or continue with our second female?
Yeah, Tana Mojo.